it or not. There is a moment meant for us, and now you made it, but I already played this. Not interested, open your eyes, let's get it done. Take my hand, just follow me. Shadow and me are one.
Welcome to this extra special episode of Summer of Poomsae. Today we have our junior male black belt semifinal round for you. Originally we thought it was going to go up yesterday, but we wanted to make sure we took some extra care and special attention to make sure we gave you the most wonderful production ever. So we're going to begin now with our junior male black belt semifinal round.
And this is Miyako Yerick. I'm commentating today with Coach Barbara Brand. And in this semifinal round, we have 22 athletes, and we will be taking the top 8 into finals. Coach Brand, how exciting.
This is wonderful. All the athletes in this division are quite talented. We're starting off with Isaac Yin here from Arizona Pride, coached by Masters Ruben Lawley and Megan Yee. And he's off to a fantastic start with Taekwondo Ojung.
Right, lots of kicking in this form, which is lots of fun. We have these side kicks. Isaac coming up with some nearly vertical side kicks to open up this division. And a nice solid Taekwondo 5 to open us up. And he gets a 7.27. So starting nice and high, we have 22 athletes, not to forget. And so I'm excited to see where this division goes.
Yeah, Isaac starts us off with real grounded, strong fundamental skills with his stances where he can lay on top these really nice hand techniques. He's trying to go for as much volume as he possibly can based on his body type. You know, every athlete has their specific body type, skill set. So he looks like he's really got a good idea of how far he can go with all of the hand techniques, how far he can push out, what his extension should be. He looks very solid and balanced as he does it.
Right, and really grounded in some of these stances. You can tell he's trying to bend his knees, really stay low, especially in that top bar. So that was nice as well.
So he receives a 7.33 for his second Poomsae, and combined with his first, he'll end up at a 7.30.
Yeah, so that's a really high score opening up the division. You know, judges will sometimes use these first few athletes to try and set the standard. And with 22 athletes semifinals, we know that it's going to be pretty high just because the level of these athletes coming into the semis out of prelims were all so good.
This is Hamza Quasi, I believe, in first place after the preliminary rounds, a real strong competitor. He looks like he may age up next year just based on his physique.
Right, he's really tall for this junior division. He could look like a senior 1 competitor easily, and so that length really coming through in some of these side kicks, front kicks, and just looks really strong and solid overall. That was really nice.
Sure. So Hamza received a score of 7.7, really high score, especially for the second competitor, because with 22 athletes, the referees have kind of put some numbers out there already that are high. Sure. So, geez, who knows where this is going to go.
Right, and he had 2 3.5s on accuracy. That's 3.5 out of 4. That is really high. So judges really appreciating Hamza's style, how accurate he is, both hands and feet. So he opened up really strong here. I'm excited to see how he takes this dynamic part of Taekwondo. stances aren't quite as deep as they could be, but that's probably because he is so tall. But his legs are just shooting up on all of those kicks. So I think we will see another good score. Geez, yeah, look at this.
Yeah, he has a lot of clarity on each of the techniques, so I think that's why the referees like his accuracy. Two of them, again, give him a 3.5. So he ends up with a 7.63 on that second Poomsae and a 7.67. Monster score right out of the blocks for Hamza Quasi in his semifinal round for the male black belt division. So this is Lee from Team K.
Right, this school out of Georgia, we've seen a lot of their athletes throughout the Summer of Poomsae, and David opening, again, really strong. First three athletes really coming out and giving it to the judges, saying, hey, I need to be in the finals. Wow.
Yeah, real high extension. David's a member of our 2020 National Poomsae team in the pair division. So although he couldn't go to World Championship, he can definitely show all of his techniques and strength here. So it was a really good performance by David Lee in his first Poomsae Taekwondo Ojang. And look at this score. Holy cow.
Wow.
7.83. This is nuts. These scores are fantastic for this early part of the division. And it's nice to see that the referees aren't being super safe or conservative or starting kind of low. Look like they're really trying to award him with the score that he's earned.
Right, these are really high level competitors, I will have to say. I mean, it is high scores, but they are earning them. They are just really doing a great job. These first three athletes coming out really strong. His torso is really upright. You're not seeing a lot of hunching or settling into these stances. I think that's something the first three have had in common, is just that upper body is very in control and clean clarity of motion as they go through these moves.
Sure. Oh, 7.7 for his second Poomsae. So combined with that huge 7.83, he's going to receive his score of 7.77.
Hey, this is Coach Sherman Nelson, and we are chopping it up live in living color with the one and only Ryan Rial. Welcome, my friend. I thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. Brian is a junior black belt competitor in our Summer of Poomsae. Man, it sounds really cool when you say it like that. So, Ryan, talk about preparing for this competition. What did it take for you to get ready for virtual competition?
So definitely training virtually is one of the things that really helped me prepare for this competition. You know, like, this whole situation is something that none of us could have really seen coming. And just understanding how to take things in stride and continue our preparation as an elite level athlete is definitely really important. I think back in 2017, I was actually part of the Poomsae and sparring national teams, and as part of the sparring national team, I was set to compete at the World Championships that year, but unfortunately, you know, the decision was made not to take the team to World Championships that year. So I was definitely, you know, pretty disappointed in that I wasn't able to really represent my country the way that I thought I was going to upon making the team. But, you know, I was able to really listen to my coaches, listen to my teammates, and everyone who kept me going and looking forward. So at that year's Pan Am Championships, competing in both Poomsae and sparring, I was able to get gold in both. And I think that just helped set my mindset to really find the silver lining in every unforeseen circumstances. And I think that mindset has really helped me prepare well for this competition season virtually.
Wow. I have never heard an answer that eloquent and well thought out. Thank you. But winning is in your blood because your sister is Karen Real, who's a Pan Am Games gold and bronze medalist. So I guess all of the Reals are the Real deal.
So my sister and I and my entire family, you know, we kept up with all the episodes of Summer of Poomsae, or almost all the episodes, just, you know, mainly the ones with my sister in it. We just made it a really big event. So watching prelims and semis where Karen was, you know, towards the top but not number one was definitely a little bit of a nerve-wracking experience. So just we made sure to like keep the faith. And after watching the final round where she was able to take away the gold, it was a really exciting moment for us. And as her brother, you know, I just felt really proud because I know exactly how much hard work she put into the training and the filming of the videos that she submitted. So it was very nice to see her hard work pay off.
Isn't it good to see sometimes, because the universe doesn't always allow, you know, hard work to pay off, but isn't it nice to know that sometimes, you know, you can put in the work and you can actually be the best and everything lines up. So I'm grateful to have, again, a very talented family. USA Taekwondo is blessed to have you all with us, so don't go nowhere. All right, stay with us. Don't go to the other groups, okay? Keep all your Poomsae skills in the USA Taekwondo house. All right, what's one thing you would tell somebody who doesn't know Taekwondo? What's one thing you tell them to get them excited about Taekwondo?
I think I would just talk about how Taekwondo is not really just a sport. Especially once you get to an elite level, it's easy to just think of Taekwondo as a sport, as a job, but it's more than that. Like, I started Taekwondo when I was 4, and from the very beginning, it was seen as a cultural art. It's, you know, the art and the way of life of Taekwondo. So it's really a lifestyle, and that's what I think makes it really different from some of the other sports that don't have quite as deep of a history as Taekwondo. And it's really allowed me to get a greater cultural appreciation for other cultures, especially like competing internationally. It's always nice to see other cultures like that. So definitely the ability to see Taekwondo as a cultural art and a lifestyle is something that I would tell someone who doesn't know about Taekwondo.
Sir, what I'm not gonna have you do is give me these world-class answers to these little questions that I throw out there. Man, you made me feel bad about the quality of my question. Man, that is a fantastic answer. Ryan, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk with us. Give our best to your family. And you all keep doing what you do. This is Coach Nelson, and I am chopping it up with Ryan, the Real deal. Hi! See, it just flows. If you just got to keep saying it over and over again, but it'll flow. All right, thank you again, Ryan. Appreciate
Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to see our next competitor, Ryan Real, chop it up with Sherman Nelson. Ryan Real is a member of the 2020 U.S. National Poomsae team in the individual male junior division. He's competing at his home site there, Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California. And his coach is Master Jung Jin.
Yeah, Ryan opening up here, Ojang, really strong, good extension on the side kicks. I loved that interview because I did not know that Ryan also was on the national team for sparring.
Sure.
That is a very hard accomplishment that not many people have made, both national teams in sparring and Poomsae.
Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Look at this. 7.83 for Ryan Real's first Poomsae Taeyuk Ojang. Holy Shamoli, where are we going next? It's huge scores here with our first 4 competitors at 7-3, 7-6, 7-7. Let's see what Ryan can do with his second Poomsae.
And you know what, Coach Brand, these guys are trying to make it to the finals. That's where they want to go. And they are making their case here. They're doing such a great job, all of these competitors so far in this division.
They're pushing super hard. They're not waiting for the opportunity to come to them. They are trying to make their own opportunity here in the finals. And this division is talent rich. It's Ryan Real finishing up on Taeguk Chojang. Again, he received a score of 7.83 for his first Poomsae. And another high score here coming in at 7.7. So his total score is going to end up at, interestingly enough, 7.77. So that is the same score as David Lee. We'll have to wait till the standings come up to show us which one had the higher presentation score. So we'll sneak into first place. This is Connie Lee. I remember his real deliberate style, really trying to make sure that everything is completed.
Right, and Connie is from Michigan, but trains with Miracles USA and Team East, coached by Master Kansuji.
You definitely see the influence there on the side kicks. He was pretty comfortable with those. His pace in general is pretty conservative, nice and even and steady.
Sure. Yeah, really nice solid form. Again, really high level here. And he gets a 7.3. So that accuracy score coming in just maybe a tad lower than our first athletes, but a 7.3 is a massive score.
Yeah, in any other division, that would be a massive score. But in this group of 22, everybody is going to be biting their nails to think about, you know, who's going to make it as we go through the division.
It's unfortunate there aren't more front kicks because those two that he opened up with were great. They were right in front of his face, really straight leg on the base leg. So I think that will help his performance in that beginning bar.
Right, he got 2 shots and he made the best of both of them. So hopefully that will play out in the score. Finishing strong here with Taeguk Chojang. This is Connie Lee from Michigan. So Connie received a score of 7.3 for his first Poomsae, and it follows it up with a 7.37 on this one. So bumped himself up just a little bit higher. Maybe those front kicks did help him out. He ends up with a score of 7.33. Just over Isaac In, our first competitor. Up next, we have Brandon Cho, also from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California, coached by Master Jung Jin, and a teammate of Ryan Real, who just went up a moment ago and scored a huge 7.83, I think, on the first Poomsae. So let's see how Brandon does. He's a very strong competitor, has a lot of experience, is well seasoned, and in a good position for this semifinal round to push forward to the final.
Right, a pretty similar style. The Eagles team has a fairly consistent style across all of their athletes. They're all very clean, really good kicking caliber. And I think that we're going to see another good score here from this Eagle teammate, Brandon Cho. Although I will say on some of those kicks, I'm seeing some elbows coming outside the body, mostly on the front kicks, but side kicks were just really excellent. Big score here, 7.77, and you'll see another 3.5 from those judges on accuracy. So they are not making very many mistakes here in this division.
This is nuts. So far, David Lee and Ryan Real score both finished up with a 7.77. So let's see if Brandon can join them at the top of the standings.
Nice low stances here.
I think his accuracy is stronger in this Poomsae, really commanding it. Arms are waving out a little bit on those kicks, as you mentioned in previous divisions. After those last 2 kicks, you want to make sure that those arms don't swing out at all. That's Brandon Cho finishing up Taeguk 7, Taeguk Chojang, and he received a score of, look at that, 7.37. So that's going to be combined with his first score of 7.77. So he'll end up at 7.57. So that will put him currently, I believe, in 4th place.
Yep, and this is 6 athletes. So here we go with those standings. David Lee pulling out the performance to go into 1st, followed by Ryan, then Hamza, Brendan, Connie, and Isaac taking in that 6th place spot.
준비.
This is Derek Forstill from New York.
시작.
Derek is a member of Champions Martial Arts, Team Champions, coached by Master Hyun-Suk Lee.
Looks like he has some pretty good tools, nice long legs and great potential for high extension on his front kick so far. Let's take a look at this side kick. Really trying to reach out. Good job, Derek, on the side kicks. Wow, really nice extension.
Yeah, those long legs really just looked like they were going for days. And those extensions, as far as you can push your kicks, it really does help, but you have to make sure that you control it on the way down, and Derek did a good job of that. And he gets a 6.97 on his first form.
시작.
He's really trying his best to stay nice and low in those stances, hard with those tall legs, but you can see the difference when he stands all the way up here and then drops down into the front stance in this next move.
Yeah, he's trying. He looks like he's trying to get that leg back there to extend on the front stance. Not quite as far as he probably could for his body type, that's for sure. So a little bit more growth there. And maybe coming back to our next USAT event, even stronger. But he's got a great set of skills to develop for sure. This is Derek Forstill from New York, and his second Poomsae score is 6.67. So a little bit of a drop from the first where he got a 6.97. So his total score is 6.82. This is Abraham too from Southern California. He trains at Just Taekwondo under Master Justin Wong, former U.S. team member for quite a few years. And he's had Abraham now for a few years, really developing his strength. Abraham has a lot of good, strong core strength. So you can see him really powering up there from the floor, trying to get his core to hold him in place, to hold his balance.
Yeah, I can definitely see the power that you're talking about. I think that as he's still learning to control that, there is some extraneous shoulder and back movements on a couple of the moves, but still really good performance overall. He pulls out a 7.33 on his first form.
Now, oftentimes when we have competitors of about Abraham's height, they really try to do everything they can to make themselves appear tall, right? And really trying to extend out hard and fast and long. And sometimes we get extra movement because of that.
And we're having to be awfully picky here in this division because everybody's doing such a great job. I mean, these scores are just skyrocketing here in the sevens. So all of these athletes really so far have done a really good job, and we're just pointing out some little minor things that they can work on to really just try and boost their way into the finals.
This Poomsae, I think he looks quite a bit stronger actually than the first. Maybe he felt like he just got in his rhythm. Had a little of a bump there at the end, but he got into his rhythm a little bit easier with Chojang. Maybe he got that first one out of the way and then really settled in. So he got a score of 7.27. He had a couple little balanced, little picky little things. So combined with that 7.33, he ends up with a score of 7.3. And on any other day, that would be like amazing. I got to the semifinals and I got a 7.3. I'm safe. But in this, really
Good bit.
talent-rich division. We're not really quite sure what's going to happen. This is
시작.
Abraham's teammate, Connie Lee, also trained by Master Justin Long. So we have the difference here with the height. You can see pretty clearly. It looks like Sean may be also near the end of this division, maybe aging up next year.
Right, and I think we talk about the length of legs a lot when we talk about height, but it seems like Sean here also has really long arms, and so he's able to use that on these middle out to in blocks.
바로
He can really extend those arms, get a good rotation, and that volume of motion just
자료.
a really nice shape overall. So I think that really helps his presentation, and he gets a 7.27 on his first form. So pretty similar to his teammate Abraham, but let's see if he can bump up his second score here.
Yes, his strongest Poomsae
시작.
characteristic, I think, is his volume. He really tries to reach out as far as he can and highlight that hand technique. Doing the same here on Taeguk Choljang. We've talked about power a few times, Miyako, on these episodes, in that if you're viewing this episode or Summer Poomsae for the first time, you may think that they're not throwing as much power as they actually are, just because
바로
it gets dimmed a little bit by the fact that it's on video. If we saw this face to face, we'd be,
자료.
holding our hats on our head because you're like, holy cow, it might get knocked off. But on the screen, it doesn't really play out sometimes. But these guys are throwing everything into every hand technique. So 7.17 for second Poomsae. He finishes up with a 7.22.
Right, and I think in that way it's sort of similar to nationals, because we
Debate.
know at big tournaments in those convention centers where you have 16 rings going on, with all the other noise of sparring going on and
시작.
announcements, it's hard to project power too, because it just goes into the void. So there is at least some experience with that.
Yeah, sometimes when we key up in those convention centers, it just kind of feels like it doesn't really reach as far as we want it to. And so that's the same idea here. When we see it on recording, it doesn't look like quite the same amount of power that we want it to have, although we're throwing everything into it. That's what Christopher Robertano is doing right now in Taeguk Ojam. He's also from Just Taekwondo. It's just a coincidence that all three teammates are going back to back here.
And he had just really excellent side kicks, almost straight up vertical and easy control down into the stance afterwards. But we do see accuracy as just a 3.1 for a total score of 7.1. And just as a reminder, we had some of those athletes earlier in the division getting 2 3.5s in accuracy from the judges. So that 3.4 on accuracy is kind of the high standard right now.
Yeah, Christopher got dinged by a couple of judges. They came in at 3.0 on accuracy, so that really hurt his overall score. So maybe a bunch of little small things that the judges are saying, maybe something a little off target, perhaps.
And of course, by a low score, we mean he still got a 7. So it's still a really good form. That arm also flying out here a little bit away from his body after the kick.
That's an easy fix. Let's see how Christopher Robertano does on Taeguk Choljang, following his 7.1 performance in Taeguk Ojam. So a little higher on the accuracy scores here for sure. So he ends up with a 7.3. That's nice when you finish up convincing those judges to pick up his score a bit. So he ends up with a 7.2.
Really close to both his teammates, Abraham, who got that 7.3, and Sean with that 7.22. Now we're moving to Ethan Lam, member of Kwang Trung Martial Arts Institute. We've seen a few of his teammates compete throughout this Summer of Poomsae. And here he is opening up really clean accuracy here on these hands, that difference in height between the philtrum back fist, and then the out to in middle block at shoulder height, really important.
He's working on a nice volume on the hand technique, so he needs to reach out a little further to extend the stances to match up. So the longer the stances, more time you have to really throw out the volume of the hand technique. If those match up, then everything tends to flow and connect a little bit easier. So that's Ethan Lamb with his first Poomsae Taekwondo Ojang receiving a nice score, 7.53. Wow, that is fantastic. So really nice shooting for vertical front kicks here at the beginning of Chojang. As we mentioned before, you get 2 cracks at it and that's it. So he really made the most of those opportunities to show off his front kick.
Right, and then the rest of the form, there's a lot of difficult arm motions, a lot of dynamism. So you really have to have good core engagement, very back that's not tight so you can really engage since there are no kicks in the rest of the form.
Yeah, this one's very challenging, right? You want to go for it, but not too much. You got to keep everything in control. But another good score, 7.4 for Ethan Lamb. So he's up there. Combining that with his first score, 7.53, he's rolling in at 7.47, and that is pretty high in the standings. And we'll be able to see those about every 6 athletes or so. The standings will come up on your screen. This is Jake de Guzman from Team M in California. And he is coached by An Hui and Long Huyen.
And we see him outside. It's hard on this surface. You know, grass is not easy. It's not always flat. You can see the trees blowing there in the background. His hair is moving. So it's a lot of elements to go outside. And I think he's doing really great at concentrating and doing a good performance.
Yeah, I love the spirit of this in general. Like, just find the spot you can compete at and then go for it. You know, everything is not going to be exactly how we want it to be during this time period, but Jake just shows, like, just go with what you have and do your best, and it'll end up just fine. So he receives a 7.0 for his first Poomsae Taekwondo Ojang. As you mentioned, the ground is probably not level. We don't know what other distracting things are out there. So it's nice to see him just like buckling down and doing his best job.
Right, and Jake is known mostly, I think, for freestyle. He's a really accomplished athlete, lots of medals, both I think nationally and internationally in the freestyle division. So here he's showing that you really have to have those good traditional recognized Poomsae skills in order to be successful at freestyle. And you know, you mentioned distraction. There's somebody jogging in the background, and he's just continuing on really strong. So great job.
Yeah, and I wonder how that person can continue with the performance going on right in front of them.
How could you not stop and be amazed by Jake de Guzman here?
So Jake does a really good job in that setting. He receives a 6.93 for Taekwondo Chojang, and that's combined, of course, with the first one for Taekwondo Ojang, with 7.0. So he ends up with a 6.97. So here are the standings. David Lee in first, followed by Ryan Rial. That presentation score, well, look at that. So close, followed by Hamza Quasi and Brandon Cho.
And you know, it's crazy. This is Julian Gomez. He is the 13th competitor to go, and that cutoff, the top 8 score is already a 7.3, which is just insanely high, and we just still have another 10 athletes to go in this division.
Amazing. And as we mentioned before, this is just a very talent-rich division here. All of these athletes are very, very strong. Nice extension on Julian's side kicks, really trying to highlight those and make it seem as if he's really hitting something. You know, sometimes people just kind of lift and pose on the side kick, and he looked like he was actually really trying to explode through something. He receives a 7.0 for Taekwondo jump.
And Julian is from California. He's a member of Mock Martial Arts, coached by Master On and Hui Long and On Win. He must be part of that M-Team CPP program. A little bit more deliberate tempo here. He's not rushing it, taking time between each of the motions. There is still connection, but it's not as fast as some of the other tempos that we've seen athletes take in this division. And a nice strong finish for Julian Gomez.
He receives another 7.0, so his final score will be, Miyako?
Quick math, 7.0.
Right, so good score for Julian Gomez. And up next, we'll have Ethan Morleda.
Ethan is from California, and he's a member of the Wanguli USA Poomsae team, coached by Master Sanjay Lee. He might be on the younger side of this division, possibly. He is a little bit shorter in stature than some of the other athletes, which just means he has to work a little bit harder to create that presence and make sure that he's really showing power and strength. But that side kick was great. Look at that.
That was marvelous. Those side kicks are great. He had a little cleanup work to do on the line coming toward the referees with some extra little arm and elbow kind of movement to the side, but ends up with a really great score, 7.53.
Really good score. Like we mentioned, that cutoff right now is a 7.3, and we still have another 8 or so athletes. We have 22 total in this semifinal round, taking the top 8. And again, here using those 2 front kicks to his advantage in this form, really clean, nice and high. A little bit of a bounce in his upper body in some of those tiger stances, but he had a really great first score. So we'll see how the judges take his second round.
Yeah, a little up and down movement as he transitions from side to side or technique to technique. So just staying low and staying solid will go a long way for him. So that was Ethan Morleda finishing up with Taegu Chojung. He received a huge 7.53 for his first Poomsae, and a little bit lower on this one, 7.3 for Taegu Chojung. So he'll finish his semifinal round with a nice score, 7.47.
It's a tie right now with Ethan Lamb, also had a 7.47. So once those standings come up, we'll be able to see what their performance breakdown is.
This is Hunter Proctor competing, my hat is off, competing with a mask on, which is really tough to do, especially when you're doing repeated Poomsae in rounds like this, where you have to do 2 over and over again, maybe to get a good set that you want to send in. And that must be just exhausting to do it in a mask time after time.
Right, and it's not just the 2 forms, because it is 2 forms back to back in each round for the prelims, but then there's also semis and there's also finals. So he had to record 6 forms this way, and still pulling out a massive 7.07. So really great job to Hunter. We don't know how many rounds you had to do, but good performance here overall.
Speaking of rounds, somebody confided to me that they did this over the course of several days. So in each of those days, they put in maybe 5 or 6 hours of practice of trying to get the right video out. So, somewhere between 15 and 20 hours it took them to put it together. So I'm not sure if Hunter was really able to get it super quick, or he was somebody that had to take quite a few takes to get it just right. So either way, he's working super hard by having a limited amount of oxygen coming in.
Right, and then once this is all over and we're not wearing masks, his lung capacity is going to be great. He's just going to come out roaring because he's going to have all this practice with the mask on.
Yeah, I heard he has a plan to swim the English Channel. Yes. 7.13 for Hunter Proctor, second Poomsae taking Chiljeon. Combined with that first one, he gets a total score of 7.1. And nobody has really made any major errors in this division. So each athlete is very, very strong. And it seems like, just small gaps between the athletes at this point. This is Bryson Lebourne from Connecticut.
Yep, he trains at World Champion Taekwondo New Fairfield, coached by Master Julian Kim and Gunsu Kim. Another taller athlete, maybe not quite as locked in some of the stances as some of the other taller athletes. I'm thinking of Hamza Quasi, who just opened up really strong in the beginning, also really tall, but Bryson here with some really great side kicks, reaching. Look at that front stance. He cheated a little bit to get back to his mark. It wasn't quite in alignment, but you know what?
I didn't see anything.
At most, it'll be a minor, and he gets a 7.17. So a pretty good overall score.
Gotta do what you gotta do to get back on your mark.
Really showing a nice height differential there, standing up nice and tall in the front kicks and then sinking back down into these tiger stances. Really putting an effort here to stay nice and low, which is definitely appreciated.
See him trying to really make an effort to extend those front stances.
Right, a lot of athletes will cut that short and just kind of step down rather than taking that full front stance length. But Bryson did a really good job stepping all the way through into that stance and then back nice and deep. And it looks like he might have some tape or something on that right foot, so maybe not at 100%, but getting really good scores here, 7.23 on his second form for a combined score of 7.2. So I think for now we still have that cutoff to the finals around a 7.3, but here we go, athlete number 17, Jacob Gonzaga from California.
Just 6 more athletes to go in the division.
Jake trains with M Team, coached by An Hui and Long Win. We've seen a few of his teammates also competing. Looks like those mats are kind of going onto the grass, maybe not quite super flat, and that front stance on that side was a little short. But overall, I think making a really good use of space. It's hot out there, and doing a nice form here on his first one, getting a 7.27.
It's nice, really nice that the parents of many of our athletes have been so supportive in helping the competitors set up some home training spaces with mats, with actual mats, inside the house, outside the house.
Right, and one thing people may not think about is mats are pretty slippery. If you put them down on the ground, they might shift forward if you do a hard enough stomp or a front stance coming forward. I've had that experience where they slip around, so you have to put some anti-slip material underneath the mat so that you don't injure yourself. So it's a lot of effort and thought that goes into these home workout areas. And really thank you to all the parents. Jacob here doing another really great job with Chiljeon.
Yeah, he had to go uphill a little bit off to the side on that grassy area, but it didn't seem to bother him at all. He receives a 7.27, which is the exact same score he got for his first Poomsae.
So I think that's going to be just under that cutoff to make it into the finals, but we will know for sure when we see the standings.
준비.
Up next, we have Bowman Kim from Team K.
下
Already in the Poomsae showing excellent volume. Trying to really push out, reach out with both stance and hand technique.
Yeah, I think his front stances are a good length for his height and showing good volume on top, like you mentioned. Nice reach on that side kick.
Wow, that was just amazing. Those
Hello.
side kicks were fantastic. So excellent take of Ojang for
Sure.
Bowman Kim from Team K. Look at that score.
Wow.
Up half. 7.57 for Bowman Kim. Whew. That really pushed him up to those top numbers in our standings.
Sure.
Within like the top 4 or 5, if I'm right, Miyako. Top 4 or 5 right there.
Yeah, definitely up there. I think, yep, right around 4 or 5. You can see him breathing a little heavy, that chest going up and down here on that 5 count, getting ready to push through this bar, but still able to put out a lot of power here. A little bit of a hunch forward, a slight lean on some of these front stances. He could just sit a little bit straighter in some of them, but
Hello.
I think doing a good job to have power come through.
下
So Bowman Kim, after that amazing 7.57 for take of Bojang, drops down a little bit on that second one. The score is 7.37. And his total score is going to end up at 7.47. So that is also the same score that Ethan Lamb received, I believe. And here are the standings. David Lee on top, followed by Ryan Hamza Quasi, Brandon Cho, Ethan Lamb, and then Bowman Kim. So we're looking for the top 8 of these 22 junior male black belts. So did you catch the number for
Jimmy?
the top 8 at this point that Leander Michael Way is going to have to beat to get into
Check.
the finals?
Yeah, so Bowman just pushed out one more person, and now that cutoff is a 7.33. And this is Leander Michael Way trying to make his case for why he should make it to the finals. And he trains out of, I believe, California with Master Victor Chung.
Yeah, Leander's a member of Team Elite, and he moves similarly to his coach. So same rhythm and tempo, same timing for the majority of the Poomsae. So for his first Poomsae, Leander Michael Way receives a score of 7.07.
A nice solid score, but he's going to have to do something really big here in this form to make it into the finals.
Yeah, and sometimes when we're in a face-to-face tournament, we know that. We got to go out there and just bust it out. But in this case, the athletes don't. They have to imagine that they need to really push through on every single Poomsae. So, you know, sometimes our coaches can help us right before we go on the ring to get that excellent, like spectacular performance. And we had to kind of make that up in our imagination for Summer of Poomsae. And it looks like he's doing a good job here, hopefully knowing in the back of his head that, yeah, this is the one that he wants to boost him into the finals.
잘해?
So after the first score of 7.07, he really needs to boost it up. He ended up just a little bit lower than the first one. So he receives a 7.0 for that second Poomsae and ends up with a score of 7.03. So we just have 3 competitors left.
We're so close, and that cutoff again, 7.33. So let's see if this next athlete, Michael Chu, can do it. He is coming from Sky Martial Arts in California. I think he could lock out his stances just a little bit more. It looks like there's some bend in the back leg. Could lean into the front stances just a tad more. But a really solid foundation, nice control coming out of the side kicks.
Yeah, I think his side kicks are stronger than his front kicks, which is somewhat unusual. He's able to kick higher on the side kick than the front kick.
Sure.
So that was Michael Chu from Sky Martial Arts. His first score is 7.13. Again, we're looking for a score of over 7.33, the total score. So he has another chance here to boost it up to over that 7.33 and get into the finals.
It looks like he looks very calm, composed during this, and I feel like sometimes a sense of urgency when you're performing might help you get to that adrenaline. It's hard to get yourself to perform with just a camera without the judges and the audience and the cheering and the sparring next door. So it can sometimes be hard to really push yourself to get out that run. And maybe just a little bit more sense of urgency might help you try and push out your best performance. Although this is very solid here from Michael.
Paddle.
So Michael Chu's second performance there, following up on a 7.13 for Taekwondo Gojang. He receives a 6.93. Like many of the athletes, are went down a little bit between the first and second Poomsae. He ends up with a total score of 7.03, just the same as our last competitor, Leander Way.
준비.
Up next, we have Lufei Song.
시작.
And Lufei is out of Bronxville, New York, trains with Team East under Master Suji Kong. We did see one of his other teammates in this division. We saw that influence from Master Kong coming through on the side kick. So let's check out Lufei's side kick here. A little bit lower than his teammate, a little bit more work to do, but a nice reach there with the left leg.
Yeah, he's definitely flexible. He was trying to stand out as far as he could in the moment. Sometimes when we're training, practicing our kicks outside of the Poomsae look great. And then we go to apply them in the Poomsae, it's like, oh, what happened? So he receives a 7.03 for Taekwondo Gojang, which, by the way, was the final score of the last two competitors.
시작.
Yeah, I think that the kicks in Taekwondo Gojang really help boost the presentation score. And in Taekwondo Chiljang, we've seen the scores drop down just a little. It's hard with so many of these moves and the arm motions that just require very precise finishing and start positions. We're seeing that accuracy drop just a little bit on the second one across the whole division.
Sometimes it's tough. You're going forward and it's hard to stop yourself there. So a little bit of a balance check.
바로.
Yep, and a little bit of collapsing on the back leg and heel from the front stance to front stance transitions. It's always a really hard one in that 180 turn. We can all continue to work on that. And Lufei gets a 7.00 on his second form for a combined score of 7.02. So just a little bit lower on that second form, but fairly consistent across both of them.
So now we're at the moment where we have our final competitor of the division, Yoshimune Otake. Last time I saw him compete, he got a pretty high score. So let's see how he does here.
He's coming out of South Carolina. Nice to see dojongs from all over the country competing. A little bit of shoulder and elbows motions coming out on the front kicks coming forward. So doing his best to really have a big volume of motion on the arms.
Nice height on the second side kick, especially a little bit more technique for the second one. He's like, oh, I got the first one out of the way. Now I'm just going to nail the second one.
Sure.
So that's Yoshimune Otake finishing up Taekwondo Gojang and getting a score of 7.1. So these last four competitors here struggling to get the score that they're looking for, which is over 7.33. See if he can do it, take a chill jump.
Yeah, just a little bit extra shrugging of the shoulders really coming through on a lot of these moves. Just really relaxing, letting the shoulders fall down, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and extending the chin up. Might help just kind of relax that upper body and keep it nice and stable.
Couple of transitions a little bit, skills popping up here and there. So lots of room for growth for Yoshimune Otake. But if he gets a high score here, his entire state of South Carolina will go crazy. 6.93 for that second Poomsae, combining that with the first score of 7.1. So he finishes up with a 7.02, identical to the athlete just before him, Lufei Song. So here are your folks going into the finals: David Lee, Ryan Real, Hamza Quasi, Brandon Cho.
Really great job to everyone in this division. It was such a pleasure to watch you all really come out here and do your best, and I can't wait to see the finals in a future episode.
So yeah, we hope this was a very exciting episode for you with all this great skill, this great technique coming from these junior athletes. And thanks for joining me, Miyako. It was a lot of fun.
Coach Brand, my pleasure.